what's like your biggest conspiracy theory that you entertain?
That's my biggest.
That was my question.
I don't know. I mean, what do you want to talk about?
What wows you the most if it's real? Like, you don't have to believe it, but what wows you the most if it's real? For me, it's clones, celebrity clones, and robot clones. That kind of thing. If it's real, that wows me the most.
That's it. No,
Yeah, because
for me,
the other things I believe in.
I mean, I just think that's not particularly like wow. I think
Well, it
that
is for
that's
me.
more that to me that's mundane. It's like, yeah, clones, okay. I think what would wow me the most, it's not really a wow. It's like, how do you say? If we're basically in a massive experiment, and basically, we're trapped within a three-dimensional, what they call prison, but essentially it's educational too. But like, we can't really experience much beyond this dimension. We have some the imaginal realms can help us get there. Sometimes we have these moments of clarity and like we see things that are multidimensional, but it really is like a Truman Show for the third dimensional experience. So it's not as limited as we're on a soundstage, but like essentially we are being monitored, and like how do you say, like there's this whole other civilization, or beyond more than one civilization, that's coexisting with us, if not monitoring and sort of disseminating things as our consciousness gets to that next level of like understanding. So as we approach things, we collectively start to realize things. Disclosure happens step by step, and it starts with the small vanguards of people like ourselves that are out there researching, digging in, like, and then it goes from the vanguard to the masses, and not just like, and obviously it's step by step. Like, it doesn't get to the masses. Sometimes it never gets to them, like you said, they're non-conscious players. So there might be like how do you say, there might be beings that have no souls. They're just literally like clones, essentially, that they're just walking around. But I think most people are just lower vibrational consciousness, or like they don't have an expansive an awareness, so they can't receive it. But again, like, all it takes is a certain amount to become conscious of something, when all of a sudden things start to change, because as I said, that's the way the universe works, right? It never stays static that way forever. Like, it has to keep changing, it has to keep evolving. So I think that this is kind of, to me, the most like wow, is fathoming not just like how inhabited this part of our universe, of our galaxy is, as far as like the various beings that are here, and all interacting in different, who knows, extra dimensional, ancient beings, beings that were talked about like elves and fairies and things like this, but also the inner earth civilization, and even the things that are in our physical realm, like deep underground bases. The possibility of, look, if the government has lost, what Gavin Austin Fitz says, 40 trillion, probably, if you add up, all the things that they've lost from, you name it, their accounting books in the Pentagon to all the different scams and things. You don't think that they've built out like an entire fleet of Space Force and other, a whole other program of like underground facilities of facilities in space, like all kinds of things that we can't even begin to fathom. So I think that, to me, the wow is just like how humans really think that their life is so mundane and ordinary. Like, no, we're like in this Star Wars movie, and we're just not really aware of it for the most part.
Exactly.
Like, occasionally people will come into your life where you have those moments. Like, that's where I've gone to those places where you start to realize, my God, like, we are being monitored. Like, no, this conspiracy is ancient. That's the only way it can still work. It's not just like a bunch, somebody was born and like, you know what, I'm Bill Gates and I'm going to take over the world. It's like, no. You were brought into something based on bloodline, based on soul knowing what
soul contracts.
And also just like, even like I don't have necessarily like telepathy, right? But it doesn't surprise me when I learn that people do. And like, you think about like, what are the abilities that people within some of these organizations have that for most of us, like we're just thinking, like everyone must think the same way I think. We only know our own consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything about what another person's consciousness is. You know, so like truly, like we walk around the streets and we're just like that's just a human being. How do you know? Clones, man, that's mundane.
Yeah.
How many species of being could be in there? What kind of entities could be in possession of that body? I mean,
Right.
cloning is just like we did it to sheep back in the 90s. You don't think they can do that to people?
Yes.
But the whole nature of the celebrity thing is like, who's actually creating them, and what actually like what is really going on here when it comes to like where the money's going, how they're spending it, how they're intentionally trying to steer consciousness, how they're trying to actually like use humans as a catalyst, because human consciousness is like this fertile soil in which they plant seeds to try to manifest things for themselves.
Yeah.
This is where it gets like, to me, just I don't know. I'm fascinated by this whole realm.
Yeah.
Nothing is what you see.
Nothing is what you see, and that's what everyone's starting to realize. Everything's more inverted.